Money is a cold, hard, unfeeling mistress. If you don't treat her with respect, she will leave you, and she'll leave you for someone else who treats her better. Most of you are walking around every single day committing financial suicide, and the worst part is you don't even realize you're doing it. You think you're living your life, but you're actually burning your future to the ground, one latte, one lease, and one bad decision at a time. I've watched thousands of people pitch me businesses, and I've watched even more fail because they don't understand the basic physics of capital. If you want to be free, if you want to actually own your time, you have to stop being an idiot with your cash. Before we get into the absolute carnage of these mistakes, I want you to be honest with yourself for a second. Look at your bank account right now. Is that number growing or is it flatlining while you wait for your next paycheck? Tell me in the comments right now, what is the one thing you spend money on every single week that you know deep down is a total waste of capital? I want to see how many of you are willing to admit where you're bleeding. The first thing you have to understand is that every single dollar you have is a soldier. I want my soldiers to go out into the world, fight for me, and bring back prisoners. Those prisoners are more dollars. When you take a dollar and you spend it on something that depreciates, something that ends up in a landfill, or something you literally flush down the toilet, you are murdering your soldiers. You are sending them out to die on a battlefield with no chance of return. Why would you do that? It's madness. Yet the average person spends thousands of dollars a year on things they don't need, to impress people they don't even like, with money they haven't even earned yet. It's a cycle of poverty that is self-inflicted. Let's talk about the biggest thief in your life, the small daily treats. People laugh when I talk about the $5 coffee, but let's do the math. If you're spending $5 a day on a cup of bean water that costs 20 cents to make it home, you're an idiot. That's $150 a month. Over 40 years, if you invested that money in the S&P 500 instead of drinking it, that's hundreds of thousands of dollars. You are literally drinking your retirement. You are drinking a beach house in the Caribbean. You are drinking the ability to say no to a boss you hate. Is that caffeine hit really worth that much to you? Because to me, it's a tragedy. It's a complete lack of discipline, and without discipline, you will never, ever be wealthy. Then there's the debt. Oh, the debt. Credit cards are the most expensive way to live in the history of the world. If you carry a balance on a credit card at 19% or 24% interest, you are in a financial prison and you handed the keys to the warden. There is no investment on earth, not stocks, not real estate, not crypto, that is going to consistently pay you more than the interest you are paying to the bank. You are working for the bank. You are their slave. Every hour you work, a chunk of that time belongs to the credit card company because you wanted a pair of shoes or a dinner you couldn't afford. Stop it. Pay it off. I don't care if you have to eat oatmeal for 6 months. You kill that debt before it kills your future. People ask me all the time, Kevin, how do I get started? You get started by stopping. Stop the bleeding. Most people have no idea where their money goes. They have subscriptions for apps they don't use, gym memberships they don't visit, and premium services that provide zero value to their bottom line. I want you to audit your life. Look at every single recurring payment and ask yourself, does this bring me closer to freedom or does it keep me in the cubicle? If it doesn't make you money or save you significant time that you then use to make money, cut it. Be ruthless. Money doesn't care about your feelings, so you shouldn't have feelings about your spending. The reality is that most people are addicted to the look of being successful rather than actually being successful. They want the new car lease because they want their neighbors to think they're doing well. A car is a hunk of metal that loses value the second you drive it off the lot. It's a liability, not an asset. If you are leasing a car you can't afford to buy twice over in cash, you are living a lie. And the thing about lies is that they eventually catch up to you. I'd rather drive a beat-up used car and own $1 million worth of dividend-paying stocks than look cool in a leased BMW while having a net worth of zero. One of those people is a master of their destiny. The other is a fraud waiting for a market crash to go bust. You have to change your relationship with money. You have to stop seeing it as a tool for consumption and start seeing it as a tool for freedom. Wealth isn't about buying stuff. Wealth is the ability to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whoever you want. That is the only thing money is good for. But you can't get there if you're constantly sabotaging yourself. You have to be a predator when it comes to your savings. You have to hunt for ways to keep your capital and put it to work. If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die. It's that simple. I see it in the Shark Tank all the time. Entrepreneurs who think they need a fancy office or a high-end marketing agency before they've even made a single sale. It's the same thing in your personal life. You think you need the lifestyle before you've built the foundation. That is backwards. You build the foundation first. You stack the cash. You invest the principal. You let the dividends and the interest pay for your lifestyle. I never buy anything fun with my principal. I only buy things with the interest that my money has earned. That way the machine keeps growing. The original soldiers never die. They just keep breeding. Most people fail because they have a lottery mindset. They think they're one big break away from being rich. They look for the next big thing or the moonshot investment. That's not how wealth is built. Wealth is built through the boring, repetitive, disciplined application of capital over time. It's about not losing money. Rule number 1, don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. When you spend money on garbage, you are losing. When you pay interest, you are losing. When you don't invest, you are losing. I'm telling you this because I've seen both sides. I've seen what it looks like to have nothing, and I've seen what it looks like to have everything. The difference isn't just luck. It's the choices you make every single day in the small moments. It's the choice to save 10% or 20% of every check you get, no matter what. It's the choice to invest in yourself and your education instead of entertainment. It's the choice to be the person who owns the assets, not the person who is the asset for someone else. If you're sitting there thinking, it's too late for me, or I don't make enough money to save, you're making excuses. Excuses are for losers. Everyone can save something. Everyone can cut something. If you can't find $50 a month to invest, you don't have a money problem, you have a character problem. You lack the discipline to prioritize your future self over your current desires. And until you fix that, no amount of money will ever be enough. You could win the lottery tomorrow and you'd be broke in 5 years because you don't understand how to respect the capital. The world is designed to take your money. Marketing, advertising, social media, it's all a giant vacuum designed to suck the cash out of your pocket and put it into the pockets of shareholders. You have to decide which side of that equation you want to be on. Do you want to be the one paying for the dividends or the one receiving them? I know which one I prefer. I want to be the one getting the check. Wait until you hear what I have to say about the biggest mistake people make with their housing and their careers. It's even more controversial, and it's why most of you are stuck in a middle-class trap that you'll never escape unless you change your mindset immediately. This isn't just about saving pennies, it's about a total psychological shift. If you're ready to actually stop being a servant to your bills, you need to listen very closely to what comes next. Now let's get into the heavy lifting. We've talked about the small leaks in your ship, but now we need to talk about the giant holes that are actually sinking you. One of the biggest delusions people suffer from is the idea that their home is a great investment. I'm going to tell you something that makes people very angry. Your primary residence is not an investment. It's a place to live. It's a massive, soul-sucking liability that eats your cash every single month. You pay property taxes, you pay insurance, you pay for maintenance, and you pay interest to the bank. If you buy more house than you need, you are anchoring yourself to one spot and draining your ability to invest in things that actually grow. I see people all the time stretching their budget to get that extra bedroom or that granite countertop, and they think, oh, it'll appreciate. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But even if it does, you can't eat your house. You can't use your roof to buy groceries. You are house poor. You have all your net worth locked up in 4 walls and a roof, while the real world is passing you by with investment opportunities that offer way better liquidity and returns. I'm not saying don't buy a house, but I am saying don't be a fool about it. Keep your housing costs to a minimum so you have more capital to deploy into the markets. The goal is to be wealthy, not just to look like you live in a wealthy neighborhood. This brings me to the second massive mistake, the myth of job security. Most of you are relying on a single source of income, your salary. That is the most dangerous financial position you can be in. If you have one boss, you have one point of failure. If that boss decides they don't like you, or the industry shifts, or an AI replaces your job, your income goes to 0 overnight. That's not a risk. That's a catastrophe waiting to happen. You should always be looking for ways to diversify. I don't care if it's a side hustle, a small business, or a portfolio of dividend stocks. You need money coming in from places that don't require you to be sitting at a desk from 9 to 5. I've always said that if you want to be successful, you have to be willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week for someone else. But even if you're an employee, you should be treating yourself like a business. Your company is you, Inc. Who are your customers? How are you growing your revenue? If you just show up, do your job, and go home to watch Netflix, you are stagnant. And in this economy, if you're stagnant, you're dying. You should be constantly upskilling and looking for ways to increase your value. The more value you provide, the more capital you can command. But if you spend that increased income on a bigger car or a better apartment, you've gained nothing. You've just increased the size of your cage. Let's talk about the investing mistakes most people make once they finally do save some money. Most people are performance chasers. They hear about a hot stock or a new crypto coin from a guy at a barbecue, and they throw their hard-earned money at it because they're afraid of missing out. That is not investing, that's gambling. And the house always wins when you gamble without a strategy. My strategy has always been simple. I want cash flow. I don't buy things that don't pay me to own them. If a stock doesn't pay a dividend, I'm usually not interested. Why? Because hope is not a strategy. I don't want to hope the price goes up. I want to know that every quarter a check is hitting my account. Diversification is the only free lunch in finance, yet most people ignore it. They put all their eggs in one basket because they want to get rich quick. They want the 1,000% return. Well, for every person who gets that 1,000% return, there are 10,000 people who lose everything. I don't take risks like that with my core capital. I want my money spread across different sectors, different geographies, and different asset classes. I want to be protected if tech crashes or if real estate dips or if the dollar weakens. You should be thinking the same way. Don't try to be a hero. Be a survivor. The person who stays in the game the longest wins. Another massive mistake? Not understanding the power of taxes. Taxes are your single largest expense in life, yet most people don't spend 5 minutes a year thinking about how to legally minimize them. You work from January until May just to pay the government. If you aren't using tax-advantaged accounts, 401ks, IRAs, whatever is available in your jurisdiction, you are literally giving money away. It's like running a race with a backpack full of bricks. You need to be efficient. You need to understand how the system works so you can keep more of what you earn. Every dollar you save in taxes is a dollar that can be compounded. I also see a lot of people making emotional decisions with their money. The market drops 10% and they panic. They sell everything at the bottom because they can't handle the volatility. Then, when the market recovers and hits new highs, they buy back in because they feel safe. They are literally buying high and selling low. It's the opposite of how you build wealth. You have to remove the emotion. You have to be cold-blooded. When blood is running in the streets, that's when you should be buying. When everyone is euphoric and thinking the party will never end, that's when you should be cautious. If you can't control your emotions, you shouldn't be managing your own money. Hire someone to do it for you who doesn't care about your feelings. And what about the mistake of helping family and friends? This is a tough one, but I'm going to be honest with you. Loaning money to family or friends is almost always a mistake. If you give them money, consider it a gift, because if you expect it back, you're probably going to lose the money and the relationship. Money changes the dynamic of every interaction. I've seen families torn apart over a few $1,000s. If someone needs help, give them what you can afford to lose, but never loan it. And never ever co-sign a loan for someone else. When you co-sign, you are taking on 100% of the risk for 0% of the reward. That is the definition of a bad deal. The biggest mistake of all, though, is the lack of a plan. Most people spend more time planning their 2-week vacation than they do planning their financial future. They just wander through life, hoping it all works out. Hope is for losers. You need a map. You need to know exactly how much you need to retire, exactly how much you're saving every month, and exactly where that money is going. If you don't have a spreadsheet for your life, you aren't serious about your success. You're just a spectator. I want you to think about your number. What is the amount of money you need where the interest pays for your entire life? Once you have that number, every decision you make should be filtered through it. Does this purchase get me closer to my number or further away? If you start thinking like that, your entire life will change. You'll stop caring about the junk and start caring about the freedom. You'll stop being a consumer and start being a producer. And that is when the real fun begins. But there's one more area where people fail, and it's the most personal one. It's about who you choose to spend your life with. If you marry a spender and you're a saver, your marriage is a ticking time bomb. Financial stress is the leading cause of divorce. If you aren't on the same page with your partner about money, you are headed for disaster. You need to have the money talk early and often. You need to know their debts, their habits, and their goals, because it doesn't matter how much you make if the person sitting across the dinner table from you is throwing it out the window. Stay with me, because in the final part, I'm going to reveal the great multiplier, the one thing that separates the millionaires from the billionaires, and how you can apply it to your life starting today, no matter where you're starting from. This is the secret to scaling your wealth beyond just saving and into true legacy building territory. You won't want to miss this. Now we get to the great multiplier. This is the secret sauce. This is what separates the people who have a nice retirement from the people who change their family tree forever. It's the concept of scale. Most of you are trading your time for money. That is a linear relationship. You have 24 hours in a day. Even if you're the highest paid lawyer or doctor in the world, you eventually hit a ceiling. You can't work 48 hours a day. To reach true massive wealth, you have to decouple your income from your time. You have to build systems, brands, or portfolios that work while you are sleeping, eating, or traveling. The biggest mistake I see in the middle-class mindset is the fear of failure, which prevents people from ever trying to scale. They are so afraid of losing what they have that they never reach for what they could become. You have to understand that in the world of capital, if you aren't growing, you're shrinking. Inflation is a silent killer. It's eating the purchasing power of your cash at 3% or 5% or 7% a year. If your money is just sitting in a savings account, you are getting poorer every single day. You must be an owner. Own a business, own stocks, own intellectual property, own real estate. Owners get rich, renters stay poor. Let's talk about the sunk cost fallacy. This is a massive trap. People stay in bad jobs, bad investments, and bad businesses because they've already put so much time into it. I don't care if you spent 10 years getting a degree in a field that's now obsolete. I don't care if you spent $50,000 on a franchise that's losing money. If the ship is sinking, jump off. The money you spent is gone. It's sunk. The only thing that matters is your next dollar and your next hour. Where is it best deployed now? I've cut businesses loose after 6 months because I looked at the numbers and realized they were the walking dead. They weren't going to scale, so I took my remaining capital and moved it to a winner. You must do the same with your life. Another mistake, ignoring the value of time. This sounds contradictory to my coffee rant, but listen closely. Once you start making money, you need to start buying back your time. If you are making $100 an hour at your job, but you spend 3 hours on a Saturday mowing your lawn to save $50, you are losing money. You are valuing your time at $16 an hour. That is a bad trade. You should pay someone else the $50 and use those 3 hours to work on your side hustle, research investments, or spend time with your family so you don't burn out. Wealthy people don't do 15 an hour work. They delegate it so they can focus on high leverage activities. And then there is the income trap. People get a raise and they immediately upgrade their lifestyle. This is called lifestyle creep, and it is a deadly disease. If you make $50,000 and you spend $48,000, you're okay. But if you get a raise to $100,000 and you start spending $98,000, you are still just as close to bankruptcy as you were before. You've just got nicer curtains in your prison cell. The secret to getting rich is to keep your expenses flat while your income explodes. That gap, that's your freedom. That's the capital you use to buy the world. If you can live like you're broke for just 5 years while your income grows, you will never have to worry about money again for the rest of your life. I also want to address the mistake of financial illiteracy. It is shocking to me how many people don't know the difference between a balance sheet and an income statement. They don't know what a P/E ratio is. They don't understand how compound interest actually works. If you want to play the game of money, you have to learn the rules. You wouldn't step onto a football field without knowing the rules, so why are you playing with your life savings in total ignorance? Read a book, watch a seminar, understand the tax code. The information is out there for free, and yet most people choose to remain blind. Ignorance is the most expensive thing you can own. We have to talk about opportunity cost. Every time you buy something, you aren't just spending that money, you are spending what that money could have become. That $1,000 iPhone doesn't just cost $1,000. It costs the $20,000 it would have been worth in 20 years if it were invested in a diversified portfolio. When you look at a price tag, I want you to multiply it by 10 or 20 in your head. That is the real cost. If you still want it after that, fine. But most of the time, you'll realize that the gadget isn't worth the future wealth you're trading for it. The final and perhaps most tragic mistake is lack of persistence. Most people try a new financial plan or start a business and they quit the first time it gets hard. They want the Shark Tank success without the Shark Tank struggle. I've had many businesses fail. I've lost millions of dollars on bad ideas, but I'm still here because I don't let the losses define me. I learn the lesson, I bury the loser, and I move on to the next deal. You have to have a thick skin. You have to be willing to be wrong. You have to be willing to look like a fool in the short term to be a genius in the long term. To wrap this up, I want you to understand that money is just a tool. It's a way to keep score, and it's a way to buy your freedom. It isn't evil. It isn't the root of all evil. The lack of money is what causes stress, divorce, and misery. Being wealthy is your responsibility. It's your responsibility to your family, to your community, and to your future self. Stop making these amateur mistakes. Stop being a victim of your own impulses. Go back through your bank statements tonight, find the leaks, kill the debt, audit your subscriptions, look at your house and your car and ask yourself if they are helping you or hurting you. It's going to be painful. You're going to realize you've been an idiot. Good. Use that pain as fuel. Use it to drive you toward a disciplined, cold-blooded financial strategy. Because at the end of the day, there are two kinds of people in this world. Those who understand interest and those who pay it. Which one are you going to be? I've given you the map. I've shown you the pitfalls. Now, the only question is whether you have the discipline to follow the path. It's not going to be easy, but I can tell you from experience, it is absolutely worth it. The feeling of total financial freedom is better than any coffee, any car, and any house you could ever buy. Go get it. Now, I've laid it all out for you, but there's a specific way to structure your very first investment portfolio, even if you only have $100. Would you like me to break down exactly how I would allocate those first few dollars to start your journey to freedom?